Recently, the City of Calgary voted to adopt its new housing strategy, and one of the most controversial items in the strategy was the upzoning of the city to RCG. But what does RCG even mean? RCG is a low-density residential designation for grade-oriented infill. This allows for housing forms like duplexes, row homes, townhouses, secondary suites, and more. There's been a lot of misinformation floating around about what this means, though, and the confusion honestly makes sense. RCG, RC1, RC2, MX2, H1, I1, I don't know. What do these things mean? How am I supposed to know what that means? I had a customer the other day ask me if this means that they can build high-rise apartments next to her single-family home. It doesn't mean that, but the confusion is understandable because who knows what these things mean? So I'm going to give a few examples of what RCG housing could look like. This could be RCG. This could not be RCG. This could be RCG, but this could not be RCG. This works, and this does not. You'll notice a wide variety of housing fits into RCG, but there's nothing really big. There's nothing really dense. When we say dense, this isn't really what we think of. Now that we're on the same page as to what will qualify under this new RCG zoning, I'm going to talk about why I think this is a good idea. And remember, I'm just a guy on the internet. I work retail, landscaping, and I do freelance podcast editing. I'm not a politician or an urban planner. I haven't studied this stuff, but I do try and learn about it. I watch council meetings and I read up on the stuff so that I can try and understand what's going on in my city. One of the goals of the Municipal Development Plan and this new housing strategy, in line with the city's environmental goals, is densification. Now, that can sound really scary, but I'll get to why it isn't in a second. And we've already established that RCG is a low-density zoning. So is this really going to make things more dense? Well, hopefully a little bit. Adding more homes to the same property will, in theory, increase the population density. But considering the significant decline in the size of the average Canadian family, often this densification just returns things to what they were when the neighborhood was originally built. That said, the returned density includes more working adults. These are tax-paying people, improving emergency services, libraries, and local business opportunities, among other things. Now, these things, specifically libraries, emergency services, businesses, these were things that were actually brought up in the council meeting. I might do a whole review of the council meeting, but there's actually a really good review in podcast form done by Sprawlcast, which I'll link in the description as a resource. The density you're probably most concerned with is actually cars. Cars take up a lot of public property. They're hard on infrastructure, they're out of line with our climate goals, and thanks to their mass and speed, they create an environment hostile to humans, especially children. This is why, along with this housing plan, it will be very important to continue transit development following the route ahead laid out by the City of Calgary. But of course, added density should assist in giving us more opportunities and conveniences accessible by our primary mode of transportation, our feet. The main issue at hand with this housing strategy is the affordability of housing. Will this really make housing cheaper? Obviously, this isn't a silver bullet. The city won't be upzoned and then magically, suddenly we'll have all the housing we need, enough for everybody to enjoy. But this is a tool in the toolkit. If you go back to your Econ 101 class, you'll remember that increasing supply will bring the price down. People have a lot of legitimate concerns about these changes, and most of those concerns ultimately boil down to their changes. Change is scary. The neighborhood you live in is already not the neighborhood you moved into. We've built more homes, we've added a hospital, a new restaurant opened up. One neighbor sold their home and a new family moved in. Maybe you liked some of these changes, and maybe some of them really irritated you. Maybe some of them you use and some of them you've never been. Maybe you don't have a reason to go to the public library. Lots of other people do. Maybe you don't have a reason to go to that restaurant over there because it doesn't serve the type of food you like. but other people do. And maybe your favorite restaurant's over here and you go there all the time, but other people might not. The scariest part of being in a city is also the best part. The variety, the changing, new people, new amenities, and a world changing around us. Now, the meeting for this housing strategy was almost 36 hours long. I listened to the whole thing. 24 hours of it was public hearing. You can sign up for that sort of thing. You can make your voice heard and help shape your city. The changes don't have to happen to you. They can happen by you and for the people you care about. And I think even when things don't go exactly the way we want them to, or maybe at all the way we want them to, being a part of the change and participating and making your voice heard can make the change a little less scary. So go out there, help shape your city, and help make it a better place for yourself and the people around you. Now, what was passed by council is just a strategy. It's just a roadmap for us to use. We still have to write bylaws. We still have to proactively engage and actually put these things into practice. So hopefully you can join me, follow along as we make our city a better place.